This is a chef's knife, which you're probably familiar with. And this is a Santoku knife, which you may not be. Today, I'm going to explain the similarities and differences between these two types of knives to help you figure out which is going to be best for you and your kitchen. Hello and welcome to I Want to Cook. My name is Chef Matt and this channel is all about helping you be a better cook no matter your skill level. And today we are turning our attention to two different types of knives, the chef's knife and the Santoku knife. Now, before I get into their differences, let's talk about their similarities. And the first thing they have in common is the way that they are used. So even though this is called a chef's knife, a Santoku knife is also a chef's knife in that this is probably going to be the first knife that you grab. These are the workhorses of the kitchen and they are designed to do just about everything from cutting and chopping to slicing and dicing. These really are kind of all-in-one knives. Another thing they have in common is what their blades are made out of. Now, most modern knives like these are made out of high carbon stainless steel, but you can find other materials such as ceramic. Both of these types of knives also come in a wide range of sizes and prices. You're probably going to want to plan on spending at least $40 for a quality knife, but that can obviously go a lot higher depending on what you want. As for the knives you see here, this is a Henkel's. This is the knife that actually got me through culinary school. It came with my original block of knives and it has served me well for many years. This Mercer is a little bit larger and I actually got this as a gift when I attended a chocolate making class at the Culinary Art Institute, and you probably see me use this quite a bit on these videos. As for my Santoku knives, this is an F. Dick. This is a German knife, and this was actually a gift from my in-laws many years ago, a nice knife as well. And the newest knife in my collection is this Nakano. They actually sent me this for review, and so far I'm really liking it. This is a handmade Japanese knife, and it actually only retails for about $85, which I think is a really good value. It's got a nice olive wood handle, and again, a really nice knife that I've been enjoying so far. I'll put a link to that company in the description below, and they're also offering a discount if that's something you're interested in. I'll put that in the description below as well. And finally, another thing these knives have in common, and actually any knife worth its salt, is that these are hand wash only. You really don't want to put these in the dishwasher. That's just too tough on these knives. So good knives like these, hand wash only. Okay, let's talk about the traditional chef's knife. These might also be called cook's knife. That name is kind of interchangeable. But a traditional chef's knife is European or Western in nature. And what these are really good at, and one thing that separates them from a Santoku, is, well, their shape, and especially the shape of their belly. So these are really great at what's called rock chopping or rock cutting. And you've seen me do this a lot on this channel. That's where you take the blade and you rock it, and you are able to cut whatever it is by having the front of the blade on the board and just rocking it to chop or cut whatever it is, whether that's onions or vegetables or whatnot. Another difference in their blade design comes at the tip. And well, these have a very pointed tip. And that isn't just for looks. This can really come in handy to pierce something, whether that's a lobster if you're doing something fancy, or piercing through a watermelon for a picnic during the summer. As for the blade itself, these are usually sharpened at a 20-degree angle, and that's something you're going to want to know when you are sharpening your own blades. And maybe I'll do a video on how to sharpen your own blades at home. If that's something you want to see, let me know. At the top of the blade, what's called the spine, these are usually thicker in nature than Santoku knives. And all this combined makes for a pretty robust blade, one that can easily chop and cut and also do harder tasks like chopping through some of the lighter bones. for something like maybe a chicken. These blades can just take a little more abuse. Now let's move on to the Santoku knives, and if these are Western in nature, these are Eastern. These are classic Japanese knives, but of course, like I said, you can find them made by all different types of manufacturers. But this is a traditional Japanese cooking knife, a Japanese chef's knife. And as you can see, its blade design is different. It's more rectangular in nature. In fact, it's almost similar to this. This is a Nakiri knife, and as you can see, this has a rectangular blade, and this Santoku knife is a little bit similar to this. But this is mainly for chopping up vegetables, whereas a Santoku knife, like a chef's knife, can do just about everything. Slicing, dicing, chopping, meat, fish, vegetables, you name it. Now, perhaps the biggest distinction between a Santoku knife and a chef's knife comes with that design, primarily the bottom design of the blade. As you can see, it is flatter in nature. And what this is really good at is what's called push cutting or push chopping. So instead of doing that rocking motion, these blades are really good at pushing or chopping from an upward angle. And if that's the way you like to chop things, then this would be a great knife for you. Now, the caveat is that these are not hard and fast rules. As you can see, this Nakano does have a bit of a upward rise to the belly. So that means that in addition to being really great at push chopping or push cutting, they can also do a rocking motion. So you kind of get the best of both worlds if you have a design like this. These knives also have a broader blade, so that makes it really good for scooping up ingredients and transferring it. And you might notice that a Santoku knife is generally shorter than a Western chef's knife. And that has its positives and negatives as well. I like that these are easier to maneuver, they are just a little more compact, so that makes them really easy. It's also good if you don't have a big cutting block, you don't need all that real estate. As for the angle of the blade itself, these are usually sharpened at about a 15-degree angle, which is less than a traditional Western chef's knife, and that means that these can be very, very sharp. Now, as for the spine of a Santoku knife, that is generally thinner than a Western chef's knife, and that can mean that these knives are lighter. There's just less metal. So again, that makes them really easy to handle, really easy to cut things, but you might want to be careful if you're trying to chop bones or something like that. You're really going to be best served by using a cleaver, something heavy, if you have a Santoku knife, because you don't want to damage this blade. Another difference is in the heel. As you can see, these chef's knives, this has a big bolster, whereas these Santoku knives, they don't have that bolster there. And that makes it easier when you're sharpening. You can really sharpen all the way across this angle without having to worry about having this nub right here. And finally, more common to Santoku knives are these indentations that look like little scallops. These are called grantons, and the idea is that they can help food not stick to the blade, especially something moist like fish or maybe a vegetable that has a lot of moisture in it. The idea is that when you're cutting it, it can easily slide off the blade. In all honesty, I don't really find much of a difference or much use in these grantons, but they are there, and if that's something you've been wondering about what these things are, that's what they are. And while they are more common to Santoku knives, you might also see them in different types of knives as well. Okay, so which of these is going to be best for you? Well, again, the biggest difference really comes down to how you like to cut things. Again, if you like more of a rocking motion, you're probably going to want to go with a traditional chef's knife. Whereas if you are like a push cutter, you really like to cut things like that, maybe a lot of vegetables and herbs and things, then a Santoku knife is great. But of course, either of these can work and they can all do multiple things. And again, there are no hard and fast rules. Really, the best type of knife is the one that feels like an extension of your hand, that you just take and just feels wonderful. That's why you really want to research your knives, maybe even try cutting some things before buying it, or at least make sure whoever you buy from has a good return policy if it doesn't feel right for you. But the wonderful thing about any of these knives is that they really are designed to last a lifetime. And as long as you take good care of them, they certainly should. So let me know, what is your favorite type of cook's knife? Do you like a traditional chef's knife, a Santoku knife, or do you have both in your arsenal like I do and use both for different types of cooking? Okay, trivia time. Last week I asked you to identify this device, this odd looking device, and I finally stumped you. So what this is a coconut opener. And the idea is that you twist these sharp edges into your coconut, you pull it out. There's even a little tool to extract the portion that was pulled out, and then you get a coconut with a hole in it that you can put a straw in and have fresh coconut juice, which is amazing. So yeah, this little device is a coconut opener. I actually found this at the thrift store a while back, and it's just a neat little device that enables you to have fresh coconut juice. For this week's trivia, we've got something vintage. Who is going to be the first to identify this device? What could this thing be used for, this very odd looking contraption? Put your guess in the comments below and I will let you know the answer next week. Hey, as always, thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Until next time, happy cooking.